Good afternoon. First, let me offer my deep appreciation and thanks to your distinguished and visionary President McClymond, who is a historic figure herself and the first female ever to serve as president of Oglethorpe University. I am thrilled, honored, really, to stand here before you this afternoon on Oglethorpe Day at Oglethorpe University. I shared with your president that during the 27 plus years I worked on this book, I look forward to, dream, hope that one day following or during publication, I would have this unique honor. Many people contributed and supported and encouraged me during this journey. And I know one gentleman is here, Mr. Eli Arnold. Where is Eli? I shouldn't know this, but you know, I am an attorney and I knew something about deductive and inductive reasoning. No one told me this, but I believe he may have been one of my anonymous readers for UGA Press, so give him another. There was one reader who continued to advocate and insist that I include Thornwell Jacobs in my narrative, and I figured out who that guy was, and that's Eli. Also here today is an amazing political leader in our state, a distinguished graduate of this university and the University of Georgia School of Law, one of the youngest persons ever to be elected to the Georgia General Assembly from DeKalb County, our very own State Representative Deshaun Kemp. Stand up, Representative. I have supported her even before she put her name in the pot for elective office, and I continue to be impressed with her work. So, there was a race. Who won? History? Other athletes. Who won today? Everybody won. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, and not even to the fastest, or the most educated, or the strongest. The race often goes to those who benefit simply from God's grace and the support of others. Some men and women aspire to speak to large, adoring crowds, or from the well of the Georgia House of Representatives. Some men and women dream of delivering State of the County addresses, or to be interviewed on local, state, and national TV. I have been blessed beyond measure and have had the opportunity to experience all of those things. But for more than 2 decades, this is the moment that I have sought and cherished most. Stand here on this historic campus and to discuss with you the life and legacy of one of the most amazing, one of the most visionary and impactful leaders in the history of this nation that we call the United States. I will begin at the beginning. October 7th, 1996. It was a dark and stormy night. I was among 57 men and women, a delegation from Georgia who journeyed across the pond to celebrate the 300th anniversary of the birth of General James Edward Oglethorpe. On the last stop of that 4-day pilgrimage, we visited the parish church of All Saints in the village of Cranham, located about 19 miles northeast of the city of London. That 700-year-old church was filled, you could feel it, the history that existed at that place and at that time. We laid a memorial wreath, and our ushers began to move the delegation to an adjacent meeting hall. I stayed behind in the quietness of that fall evening. The church now quiet. I stood motionless. And there was a marble plaque erected by Elizabeth Oglethorpe, General Oglethorpe's widow, that listed the palliatudes and the successes and the accomplishments of the man named James Oglethorpe. He founded Georgia. He fought to bring justice and humanity to debtor prisoners. He fought in the 7 Years' War. He was a politician and served in Parliament. But one 8-word passage, carved in white marble, captured my attention. 8 words that had hung there for nearly 250 years. 8 words. He was a friend of the oppressed Negro. Having been born and raised in Clark County, Athens, Georgia, attended the public schools, educated in this state, law school, other educational opportunities. I had never heard the founder of this state described in such a way as to having been a friend of the oppressed Negro. Significant in 2024, revolutionary in the 18th century. When those words were carved, the prevailing view in Europe and on many continents across this nation was that African American black people were subhuman, that we were soulless, that we did not possess redeemable souls. When those words were carved, millions of human beings were enslaved. When those words were carved, Britain was the dominant slave-trading nation on the face of this earth. So your namesake, this man we celebrate today, distinguished himself, separated himself from all of his contemporaries. If we think through the founding fathers of British colonial America, William Penn, John Smith, all of those great men, Benjamin Franklin, none had the courage to believe, to act as he had done. Let me back up. How in the heck did Michael Thurmond end up at the Parish Church of All Saints on October 7, 1996? By the way, of those 57 members in that delegation, I was the only African American member. A word to my young scholars of all races, colors, and creeds. Oftentimes you may feel alone or lonely because you're the only woman or only African American or only Asian or Latino or Hispanic in the room. But oftentimes it only takes one. Your presence can be so impactful because we all read the plaque, but something about those words riveted my attention. Prior to coming on that trip, I served as head of the Department of Family and Children Services. And you all know anything about state government, being the head of the Department of Family and Children Services, that's the place careers and dreams go to die. And when I was appointed to that position in 1994 by Governor Zell Miller, I went because I'd been defeated in a race for U.S. Congress. I was exiled in our politics. My career, according to many pundits, was over. And Zell Miller, Governor Miller, offered me a job, frankly, that was nothing more than a suicide mission, which was the goal to lead one of the most unappreciated, one of the most criticized departments in any government, which is a department that is focused on helping those who are poor, who are marginalized, who are disfranchised, who are homeless. But wait, when I arrived at these facts, I realized something. That the people we are serving are the same people that Oglethorpe aspired to help. So we embraced Oglethorpe as our patron saint. I hung his portrait in all 159 offices. We took control, we accessed and made it our own, not for self, but for others, became our motto. Think about that in 2024, my friends at Oglethorpe. Think about that. Not for self, but for others. Think of a politician, which he was. Not for self. Not for party. Not for the lobbyists. Not even for me. But for others. Consider how radical and revolutionary this man is. So Georgia, the only one of the 13 so-called original colonies, not New York, not Massachusetts, not Pennsylvania, or Rhode Island, or New Jersey, but of the 13 original colonies, Georgia is the only one of those colonies that prohibited chattel slavery prior to the Revolution era. The only one. And it was because of one man. He had 20 colleagues, but there was only one of the 21 trustees who actually came to put his life on the line in this prehistoric wilderness that was Georgia. And you know, when you do great things, when you stand up for justice and truth and equality, if you embrace the idea that all people, and not just black people, he understood that all people, Native Indians, he allowed and permitted Jewish colonists to come to the colony, even though it was prohibited. All people have a right to live free, and to be respected, and to be treated with dignity. Now, of course, he took the position, and in reward for his vision and his empathy and his sympathy, he was tormented. He became the victim of a relentless smear campaign. Pro-slavery colonists hounded him. They sent petitions and letters to Parliament and to anyone who would read them, because they knew in order to be successful, they had to undermine and destroy his credibility and his reputation. Oftentimes, young folk, when you stand up to do right, if you stand up against racism, if you stand up against sexism in the lunchroom, on campus, or at sorority meeting, or at fraternity meeting, if you're the one, don't expect to always be elected homecoming queen. Don't expect to be invited to all the cool parties. Oglethorpe was then charged with 19 offenses, one being treason. And if convicted, treason is a crime punishable by death. So he was run out of Georgia in July July 1743, to face court-martial. He was also facing financial ruin because Parliament refused to reimburse him when he invested his own money to keep this thing called Georgia alive. He left Georgia, never to return. We celebrate him today, but in life, he was despised by most. Finally, we need Oglethorpe. We need Oglethorpe University. We need Oglethorpe in Georgia. We need Oglethorpe in America. We need Oglethorpe in this world. Tell you why. We need shared history. We need a leader that we can all embrace. Not a perfect man. One of the writers, Andrew Lanham, I think, described him as an imperfect critic of slavery. One thing that he taught me through my research is that a snapshot is not enough. That in order to truly evaluate yourself and others, you must have a full accounting of successes and failures, strengths and weaknesses, character strengths and character flaws. Someone would ask me, said, so why did you go write this book to prove that he was this abolitionist? And I told him, that was not my purpose. I had no idea what I would be able to prove. What I saw were the facts. And oftentimes, through objectivity, it allows us to evolve and grow. Thank you all for letting me come. I believe that James Oglethorpe, and his original vision for Georgia, will re-energize and restore a broader, more inclusive vision for our state. And it is James Oglethorpe's vision that has continued to inspire and elevate and inform and shape my life, and I believe the potential to inspire and elevate life throughout this nation. Keep believing, keep studying, keep writing, keep sharing the vision. Oglethorpe always pursued the better angels. The better angels. And I'm convinced that in your lifetime and my time, we will live in this, what was a colony founded by Georgia, but now a state. We'll live in a state called Georgia that is not separated by black folk, white folk, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, not separated by gay or straight, not separated by rich or poor. We'll live in a state envisioned by Oglethorpe that is one state, united, one state that is part of 50 states, that is as you have pledged that it would be since you were little boys and girls. One state, one nation, that is what? Indivisible. One state, one nation, that is under God. One state, one nation, that will offer liberty, justice, and economic and educational opportunities for all. That is the vision, and the hope, and the dream of Oglethorpe's and all of those who inherit and who are inheritors